Alrighty, well, a very happy Wednesday to you guys to you guys. All right, we're just getting set up here this morning on a fine Wednesday morning. Here it is Wednesday, April the 13th, and I tell you right off the bat, I'm just kind of been in the studio all morning long trying to get things worked up, and man, I will be honest, still a little tired. Man, I am. Let me kind of paint you this picture here. The last couple of days, and I'm kind of bummed. I'm kind of frustrated. I ended up straining my right tricep pretty badly yesterday, and from my other job, and right now I'm going to be out of work for a little bit, and it's kind of frustrating. It's kind of downsetting. It does provide me time to come back here and kind of get some, do some little bit of TLC. But at the same time, it is a little frustrating that I gotta be out of work for any length of time. You lose money, you lose a paycheck, and it's just not fun. But and it kind of composes to the week that has been over the last what 24 48 hours. Going back to the world of sports, and we'll cover a lot of sports today, a lot of sports, kind of finishing some things here as we are just getting underway here on the one. What's going on? How is everyone doing on this fine Wednesday? I know I'm a little peeped up, and let me excuse me. Let me do this. I gotta do this because, gosh, great way to start off this morning. I got to do this. Let me do this here. You guys are bear with me. I'm doing these last touches and whatnot. There we go. You guys being patient with me. I got a guest coming on here just a little bit, so I had to make sure I sent out that link and get that going. All right. So I got a lot to talk about today. And, listen, we got a huge announcement coming to you guys tomorrow. And so we'll talk about that. I know Trey will be on with us. And I want to just first off by giving him my sincere gratitude. Things are happening as he's going to be taking a vacation here at the end of the month. And there's a couple of things that are happening in between there, some controversy things. I'm not going to go into detail. I'll let him, if he wants to, explain it tomorrow on our show, to come on tomorrow and talk about it. But I mean, he wish him the best of luck and take care of himself. Like I said, I've been dealing with my little injury that I've been working on. So apparently I've been working on. And so it's just kind of reflects right back into the sports world. It will, following baseball, following basketball, following some of the sports, heading into this week, the Reds had a very, very big opening day, home opener, considering that they did not get a chance to have a home opener. They normally, the Cincinnati Reds, typically, if you guys are not a baseball fan or don't know the history about the Reds, let me incite you a little bit. The Reds typically have the first game of the season always at home because they are the first Major League Baseball franchise and the longest in Major League Baseball history. So they are rewarded with a first home game. Now, obviously, with the lockdown, with the hey, we had to delay the season back a week, it didn't help for the Reds to it caused them to push the schedule back. So instead of opening it up, I believe it was supposed to be against the Chicago Cubs, but they ended up opening up their series in Atlanta. Now, I'm not the one to sit here and complain about facing Atlanta in the opening series on the road. They are the defending World Series champions, and they had a really good series against the Atlanta Braves over the past weekend. but they come home yesterday, and it's I don't know any other city or any other ball club that celebrates opening day like Cincinnati Reds. And I'm still very familiar, very new, fresh, friendly, coming out of this, what's going on, this, this city here in Cincinnati. And, I did not get a chance to go down, do any special events. I didn't go watch the parade. I didn't go watch the ball game. I wish I had, and maybe one year that's would be a goal of mine to be able to do. But I mean, I tell you, when it comes down to baseball, they just have one of the greatest fan base of them all. I don't know if it's just a excuse or a reason to get out of work and come down and celebrate just life, and I mean, and just you just to enjoy the environment, or if they're actually in depth fans. Um, but listen, I've been kind of supporting the Cincinnati Reds for a little while. I've been talking about how hey, we got to give the organization a break. We got to see what they could do, how they could put it together. I tell you, we will talk about that more in depth in this program this morning, because listen, Bob Castellini, man, you're making it difficult for me to support the organization when you go out there and say remarkable comments. So I have some audio for you on that behalf. In that case. But the Reds, they ended up playing the Guardians, opening up opening day yesterday for the first home opener. Um, and it was actually for nine, for the first 9 innings, a very impactful, very inbound game. You had Tyler Malley going 4 innings, uh, 4 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, four strikeouts, and then Shane Bieber went 5 innings with five and a third of an inning, 2 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. They really matched each other step for step throughout the game. Tyler Naquin, really big at bat, coming to you in the 6th inning. The Guardians were up 4-2. He hits a 2-run blast straight away to center field, his 6th of the season, or 6th of his career. Sorry, and listen, it was a very good game. I will tell you that the Sizell and Tommy Pham collision, I was disappointed. There was no communication. That was clearly a center field's ball. Okay, Sizell should have got that ball. He was right there to collect that ball, and then out of nowhere, Tommy Pham was a solid 5 feet away, and he's making this head diving play to catch the ball out there in the 3rd inning, and that that caused some runs to be scored on the Guardian side to get things going in the game. And listen, Fam gets out. Fam, I'm going to sit there and try to support you the best I can. But come on, Tommy, let's get real here for a moment. I mean, let's play smart baseball. I feel like this is the definition. Yeah, what we saw yesterday was the definition or it was just the prime example of the struggles that the Cincinnati Reds are going to deal with this year. I'm going to bite my teeth on this one. I got to eat my words because I praise highly with Hunter Strickland. Well, you know what? Guess what? Hunter Strickland was going to go in and try to, he came into the 9th inning, tried to send the team down to the bottom half to win the game. And if that's the case, they would have won because he did score a run in the 9th, but it wasn't good enough because Hunter Strickland gave up 4 runs off of 4 hits in the top of the 9th to blow a game for the Reds. And it is definitely a disappointing factor to see the Reds get off to a slow start in the first home game of the season. And I'm looking forward to what they have to come here um, as we stretch down the road. Okay, I got a feeling that it's going to be a nice rocky balance and a nice big just terrible cluster for the Reds. But they will be back at it today. I am trying to follow them right now As of updates, they have a game starting at 12:35 today. You have, I will get more detail into the pitching matchup and into the lineups for today's game a little bit later on, probably closer to the end of the show. You got, for the Cleveland Guardians, you got Tristan McKenzie, all right, right-handed pitcher, taking on Nick Lodolu. And the only thing I can tell you off of Tristan McKenzie, 0 for 1, 6 ERA with 1 strikeout. Nick Lodolu doesn't have anything on the board. This would actually be a great, perfect outing for him. Like I said, this is a getaway day because I believe moving forward, the Cincinnati Reds are headed over to LA to have to host or to be a guest on the Dodgers opening first home game of the season, which is, I believe, is tomorrow, Thursday. And so this is a getaway day for Cincinnati, and we're looking towards what they could accomplish. All right, what can we see on today's show? I think that would be interesting here to engage. I just want to read through my notes really fast. We will be having a guest on our show. His name is Guy Windsor, and he is an author. I was just going to pull this up here. He is the author to a book called The Windsor Methods. It's the Principles of Solo Training. Is the self-help book for people who want to add years to their life and in their years. In this refreshing, straightforward, and gentle guide, the best-selling author, the world-renowned historical swordsmanship instructor, Dr. Guy Windsor, lays out the fundamentals principles behind personal development and excellence in any field. So I'm excited to kind of get a dive into him, learn about his book. He has a couple of other things going on. I know it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, he has some other programs that goes on. I just learn about him. I'm excited bringing on our guest today. That's hopefully, I believe, is coming up here shortly. We're going to give you some more updates. Let's give you the updates here last night, NBA playoffs. Listen, we have this play-in bracket. The Cleveland Cavaliers takes on the Brooklyn Nets. The winner with the 115 to 108, Brooklyn Nets defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then the Minnesota Timberwolves defeated the LA Clippers. Now, coming up tonight here at 7 p.m., Charlotte will take on Atlanta. And then coming up at 9:30, San Antonio will take on New Orleans. We're going to get you guys ready for AEW Dynamite. I want to talk a little bit more about the Cincinnati Reds, get you guys ready for that game. There's more information about Nash Carter and his release from last year. And then I want to get you to some information about Phil Castellini. Man, I don't know. You could be the only person who digs your own grave and based on what you say here. And I'm just not happy with, I'm trying to support the Reds. I'm trying to support Phil Castellini, and he's proven me wrong. He's proven me not to, and I'm just very disappointed. So we'll talk about that. I got some audio here. You want to give our condolences out, finding out yesterday that Gilbert Gottfried, who passed away. One of the famous voices for me growing up was the parrot from Aladdin. So definitely sad, remorse. Prayers go out to his family and friends after learning his passing yesterday. All right. I think we're gonna take a quick timeout. We're gonna reset ourselves, get up to going. NBA draft coming up here later on this year. Our show is given to you. I'd like to give a shout out to Epidemic Sound. Discover world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. All right, we're gonna take a timeout. We'll come right back. Continue Justin and Trey here on a Wednesday. Available on TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Thank you guys for joining. And I explained this over the week. Today's era, they did the exact same thing what they're doing today 15 years ago. You talk about like guys like Carlito and Rey Mysterio when the Hardy Boys left the first time. Was that all broken news? No, you were only able to find that news on the WWE website because that was something, and they controlled that. You talk about why they couldn't. Or why, it's all news to us and they're just doing things terrible. And I will say, listen, they're not doing things, they're doing things business as usual. They've been doing this for the last 20 years. And the only difference is that social media and the people have a voice. These athletes have a voice and they use a voice on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. And it stops, and instead of WWE having that voice, it wasn't like Carlito got released back in the early days and he was able, he could have tweeted out, hey, these guys are crap. No. What happened was that if they got lucky, a guy like Chris Masters who got released would have to take a phone call on an interview who talked about wrestling, which, by the way, there wasn't many areas or radio stations talking about wrestling. There still isn't today. You don't see SportsCenter every single week having guests on that is a professional wrestler. All right. I believe, if I read this correctly, I'm just trying to read this correctly. I know that we've been communicating back and forth. I just want to say it was 10:05. Let me check real fast. I got everything set up for a morning show, and then I come to find out that I don't, as soon as I click record, I don't have anything set up and ready to go. Yeah. All right, just a few minutes. We're going to be joined by Gay Windsor. I want to talk a little bit about that before he comes on. I want to give congratulations, though, to San Francisco Giants and making history in last night's ball game. I just had this pulled up. I want to give a shout out and a congratulations to Alyssa I got it right here, please. I think I did. Well, maybe I don't. All right. I thought I had a prompt up. I want to give a shout out to the San Francisco Giants and Alyssa Nakin, who becomes the first woman to coach on the field in an MLB game after Antoine Richardson was ejected. I believe she was the first base coach throughout the game. Was the first female to actually be on the field, coaching, managing, being a part of the team actively. So give her a round of applause there. And like I said, we are just awaiting our guest at this time. Here in a minute or two, this is good. Getting guy goes by name of Guy Windsor, and has some incredible workout stuff going on. I just had it up here. Get a chance to talk with him and hit about his book, The Windsor Method. Step-by-step approach to mechanics and training. This is the Windsor Method used to guide, practice, and elevate your skills. I'm excited to have him on. Been booking, and we got a definitely an impactful month of April of guest on our show. I don't want to get too deep into a conversation and bring him let him show up. So I'm just kind of guiding you, waiting you here. Like I said, if you head on over to MLB.com, the lineup for the Cincinnati Reds is out, but not yet for the Cleveland Guardians. So we are still awaiting on the Guardians lineup. Like I said, they are actually going to be planning on. They're actually starting the game in just 2 hours from now. We're going to have Trey join us tomorrow because we have a really big announcement. Excited to bring you that announcement. And we're also going to have another guest on tomorrow at 11:30. We'll talk to you more about that tomorrow. And I think our goals are now is trying to book towards the time of the NFL draft that's coming up here at the end of the month. All right. So, all guests on our show is provided thanks to StreamYard. StreamYard Studios is where you can create podcasts, videos, and virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out the free version at StreamYard.com. We'd like to take this time and welcome in our guest. I want to say it correctly. Is it Guy Windsor?
Yeah, Guy Windsor, that's right.
How are you doing this morning? Good morning to you.
Good morning to you too. I'm very well, thank you.
Well, I'm very excited to have you on. I do want to just kind of learn some background about exactly what you do. I saw that you have a book out, The Windsor Method. Could you kind of explain us about that book?
Sure. Well, let me give you a little bit of background first.
Okay.
My day job is I find medieval and Renaissance sword fighting manuals or treatises and figure out how those systems work. And then I teach those martial arts to my students as a kind of practical skill.
Yeah.
As you can see, there's a bunch of swords behind me and books
Yeah.
and what have you. And one key skill every martial artist needs is how to train on their own.
Okay.
And so my book, Windsor Method, the subtitle is The Principles of Solo Training. And I wrote it primarily for my students so that they would know how to continue to improve when they didn't have access to like a school
Right.
or a club or even other training partners.
Okay. And this book is available on Amazon. Is there
Everywhere.
any other everywhere?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And everywhere books are sold, and you can order it from your library even.
Okay. So this book is a guide to self-embracing with when you don't have a group of when you're not in a class, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we cover things like mental health, because if you're
Okay.
not feeling like up to it, you
Yeah.
can't really train. So that includes things like sleep and breathing and habits of thought,
Hmm.
uh, and also physical stuff like
Yeah.
range of motion and strength training, and but it's more sort of holistic in its approach,
Hmm.
because to my mind, we start with the mental health, then physical health is next, and when you have
Right.
that base to build on, then you build your skills like striking or falling or
Right.
wrestling or
Okay.
whatever.
Where did you what inspired you or intrigued you to learn about and to really dive into the medieval and Renaissance the arms arts of forearms? I'll put it that way. Sorry.
Swords. I
Really?
mean,
Okay.
we have all the best swords,
Yes.
really. So yeah, I've always really liked blades.
Uh-huh.
And when I was a teenager, I was doing sport fencing, which is the closest thing I
Okay.
could find to actually like
Right.
sword fighting. And then when I I got to university, I still got a bit frustrated with the artificialities of sport fencing, and I was doing a whole
Hmm.
bunch of other martial arts at the same time. Like, yeah,
Right.
I was doing karate and aikido and tai chi and various others. And then I found out that books had been written by people who really knew what they were doing. I mean, if you
Hmm.
think about it, this book here, this is Capaferro's Il Gran Simulacro. That book, and that's an original, is from 1610. So it was written and printed 412 years ago. And it tells us how to win sword fights with weapons like this. A rapier.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
exactly. And so when I discovered that people in the period in which swords were used for real had
Uh-huh.
written not instruction manuals exactly, but books about how to do it properly.
Right.
I was like, well, okay, that's my jam. It's got the swords, it's got the martial arts,
Right.
it's coming from an authoritative source.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I could, as a modern person, just sort of invent a way of fighting with rapiers or long swords or whatever. But so
Right.
what? I've never been in a real sword fight when someone's trying to murder me. But we have these books
Uh-huh.
written by people who literally trained knights. So, I mean, for instance, this is not the original manuscript. This is a facsimile of
Okay.
the original manuscript, written by a guy called Fiore de Liberi, and in about 1400. So the original manuscript is about 600 years old.
Right.
And it tells you how to do wrestling and fighting with the dagger and fighting with the sword, fighting in armor with a sword or with a poleaxe or with a spear, fighting on horseback with a sword
Uh-huh.
or a lance, even wrestling on horseback.
Uh-huh.
And he even shows us this incredibly cool trick where when you're wrestling on horseback, how you get your horse to effectively help you throw the other guy's horse on the ground.
Oh.
Right. So it's literally wrestling with horses.
Right.
Right. And so
Now,
and this material is just out there.
right. Yeah,
We just have
and
to
not a
figure
lot
out
of
how to
people
do it.
know about this. You
No,
know,
that's why I'm on your show, so we can help people find out.
absolutely. I had a I say they're my godparents. So growing up in high school and middle school, they actually did they were big about the medieval Renaissance, and they would actually go and reenact battles
Mhm.
out there in like Vegas, out there in like Las Vegas, Nevada, or in Arizona,
Sure.
and these were like week long like the
Events.
whole
Yeah.
like week or month long, where they kind of just kind of lived the life of a Renaissance, and then they would just be in days in battle and all that stuff. Did you ever partake in any of those at some?
Yeah, I did a bit of that about 20 years ago. So I started doing the research into historical martial arts in
Uh-huh.
about 92,
Yeah.
92, 93. And so in the mid to late 90s, we did quite a bit of historical reenactment.
Hmm.
The thing is, it's a great thing to do,
Right.
but the stuff that works in a real sword fight
Right.
is superb, incredibly dangerous,
Uh-huh.
right? And it's totally inappropriate to use on a reenactment battlefield.
Right.
So
Right.
what they have to do on a reenactment battlefield is they have to make it look good for the people watching,
Right.
and people are dressed as correctly as they can be, and often they do like reconstructions of actual battlefield formations and how those formations moved against each other and that sort of thing. But when it comes to the actual fighting stuff, they have to basically use a safe, watered down, adjusted version of it, so that everyone goes home at the end and no one goes to hospital. Right.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like modern stage combat or what we see on the screen. It's, if they did it exactly the way it's shown in the books, people would die.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So they can't do that. Or if they did it, you know, even I know you have a sort of an interest in wrestling.
Right.
If you look at like modern wrestling,
yeah,
generally speaking, people don't get their bones broken and they don't get their elbows dislocated and they don't get their necks broken. They don't get their eyes gouged. And,
right.
There are all sorts of limits imposed to make it so that both people go home at the end of the day and nobody goes to hospital. And of course, accidents happen, but the environment has been adjusted so that injuries are minimized, because that's the civilized thing to do. And that's, of course, how you have to train. But the medieval battlefield is a brutal place where, for example, one of the tricks we have, there's a helmet here. If you're fighting a guy who's wearing a helmet like this, right, which has a visor, one thing you can do when you get close to them, right, as you're going into wrestling, if you want to stab them in the face with something, you literally open up the visor first and then you stab them in the face. Right, which is a horrible thing to do to a person.
Right. Yeah.
But that's what these books are. The environment in which that these books are expecting you to use these skills in is an actual fight with someone who's trying to kill you. Most of the time, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, that's what you're being trained to do. In the same way that a modern soldier is being trained to kill enemies on the battlefield, whereas a modern paintballer is not.
So these practices, can you kind of reflect the difference between the practices that were done back in the Renaissance time to like the practices of martial arts and the arts of arms today? There's definitely a difference in practicing working. You just got done mentioning all the mental side of things. There's two different. Can you kind of compare it?
Okay, if we're looking at military training, is that what you're thinking of?
I was thinking of maybe just overall. I mean, military training, but then overall, just the experience, fighting, practicing of learning about the arts of arms today to what it was back in the medieval time.
Okay, well, the art of arms today is lots of different things. So, for instance, the closest thing to modern knightly training would be modern military training. So, how to command people on the battlefield, and rifle shooting and deploying tanks, and all that sort of thing. Right. And the way it was done in medieval times is totally different to the way that's done now. Nowadays, there's like a formal professional training that starts when you are a young adult, usually 18, 19, 20, something like that.
Right.
And you're trained to do these things. And there's a strong emphasis on sort of loyalty to your unit, loyalty to your country. And that's the focus, right? In medieval times, a professional warrior, such as a knight, would very often be trained from childhood. And so a knight in, shall we say, 1350 would very often be from a knightly family. At the age of about 11 or 12, they would be sent to somebody else's castle to be trained. The theory being that if your mum is around, she might take pity on you and your training wouldn't be as hard as it needs to be. That's the theory. So they're often sent away to somebody else's castle to be trained. They're trained for about 6 years, and they're taught, the various skills of the lance and the sword and armor and mounted combat and command, basically. And then they get knighted, and then they have access to like their own little unit, which is called a lance, which is maybe a couple of men at arms and a squire perhaps, and a page maybe, and maybe a couple of archers and various hangers on. And that's the basic military unit. And then that knight owes service to their overlord, who owes service perhaps to some other overlord, maybe a duke or a king or what have you. And so we don't even have the idea of a nation state the way we have today. So they weren't fighting out of loyalty to a country, they were fighting out of loyalty to their overlord. And their overlord is usually the person who is governing the area in which they live. So they're fighting for their kind of county, if you like. And so the whole idea of what they're being trained for is completely different.
Right. Okay.
And they're being trained from a much younger age.
Now, also, when we just in a comparison of like combat fighting today to what it was then, they were more, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like their training was also more ruthless, more, no holds back. You're basically going to go out there and die on the field defending, your king or queen.
Yes and no. For example, if you look at battles in the Second World War, right, or battles in the Korean War, or even the First World War was even worse. They have extraordinarily high numbers of casualties, and the main difference is on the medieval battlefield, crew-served weapons are fairly rare. Okay, a crew-served weapon is where you have, say, 2 guys running a machine gun, or 3 or 4 guys running an artillery piece, something like that, right? Now, with a crew-served weapon, you're almost invariably shooting at a distance, and you don't really see the person that you're hitting. Now, that's less true for a light machine gun, obviously, and more true for artillery, or these days even drone strikes. Okay, the person piloting the drone isn't even in the same area as the drone itself. Okay, so you have this separation from the battlefield, which makes people more vicious.
Really?
Because they don't see the enemy, they don't see the other person, and so they don't even really think of them as a person. On the medieval battlefield, one reason why knights wore the best armor they could get on the field and often blinged it up with like a gold belt or whatever, is so that instead of being killed, ideally, and of course many knights were killed, but ideally, if you were losing, you would get captured and held in somebody's castle or keep or whatever for ransom, and then your family or your overlord or whatever would pay the ransom and get you home again.
Oh, okay. Right.
So yes, people were killed on the battlefield a lot.
Yeah,
including knights, but for the knights at least, there was a significant chance that the people who were trying to get them weren't actually trying to kill them; they were trying to capture them. Right. Because if you're a peasant and you and a couple of your mates capture a knight and you manage to get your share of the ransom for that night, you're set for life.
Yeah.
Right. That's much more valuable than killing the guy and stealing his armor.
See, even in just simple history, you can't be taught that in school though, because what they teach you in school is they exclaim it's the most gruesome time period of modern history, which is
no, I don't think it is
questionable.
Well, okay, there were things that they did in medieval times. Yeah, for example, the medieval justice system had a lot more torture in it than the modern justice system, except really does it. I mean, okay,
if you really think about it.
If you really think about it, I mean, you've heard of waterboarding. That's not pleasant. And I mean, okay, these days, if you get convicted of something, you don't get, for example, broken on the wheel or racked or hung, drawn, and quartered or anything like that. So the more extreme outcomes are less common. But I mean, is the electric chair actually any nicer than being hung, drawn, and quartered? Probably not. I don't know. right? But
Well, I mean, especially when
the
you hear
notion,
stories about it not working some of the partial of the time. I
right?
mean,
Exactly. It's hideous and horrific. But you look at medieval times. Yes, in some cases, things were
right,
the ordinary person had fewer protections in law. That's
right,
generally true,
yeah,
right? But people were still prosecuted for murder, right?
right,
And yes, okay, if you had an apprentice and they annoyed you, you could like beat them with a belt or whatever, and that was
right,
considered normal. But if you went too far, you could get in trouble. In fact, there was a case about 600 years ago, not far from where I live here, where this, I forget what his trade was, but he'd basically beaten his apprentice bloody,
mhm,
right? And that was considered excessive and unfair. And
right,
so he was put in the pillory. So he was like,
mhm,
he was like,
right,
his head through a hole and his hands are tied.
right,
So the people in the town could like chuck rocks at his head,
right,
or fruit or whatever. The nice people threw a rotten tomato. Well, not
right,
tomatoes. They didn't have tomatoes in Britain then, but you get the idea. Um, and the people who really didn't like him would maybe throw a rock because of the way he treated his apprentice.
mhm,
So there were more checks and balances than we tend to think of. And,
right,
a society that doesn't contain violence quickly breaks down. There has to
mhm,
be like legal or accepted ways for violence to occur. Because if there are no boundaries set around it, then you basically get anarchy, which is bad for everyone.
right, right. You started this. I was just, I was reading your all the stuff that you're sending over. I was actually fascinated. You founded the School of European Swordsmanship.
Yeah.
Can you
It's
tell us about that?
Oh, sure. In 2001,
Uh-huh.
I moved to Finland from Scotland and
Okay.
started the School of European Swordsmanship in Helsinki, in Finland.
Uh-huh.
And it grew pretty quickly. And I don't actually live in Helsinki anymore. I left 6 years ago
Right.
for family reasons. But the school is still going there. But it very quickly, because it was a new idea and
Uh-huh.
people were keen on it, it spread out to all
Yeah.
sorts of places. So we have sort of branches and study groups and affiliated clubs all over the place, Australia and America and wherever.
Now you also you run a sword school online.
Yeah,
And anyone could join anywhere.
yeah, that's right.
And what is what type of process of like the online school do you offer people?
Okay, so my online courses
Uh-huh.
are pre-recorded video courses. So when you're teaching emotion, it's
Yeah.
easiest to teach it over in person is best, obviously, but there's only
Mhm.
one of me, and travel is difficult these days. And books are great for some things, but
Mhm.
for teaching movement, video is better because you can actually see the movement. Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a whole load of different online courses for teaching rapier, longsword, medieval dagger stuff,
Uh-huh.
solo training. There's a huge variety, and actually there's a bunch of it is free. So you can
Okay.
get a free longsword class, a free rapier class, and some free kind of body maintenance stuff, breathing exercises, meditation, joint care, that kind of thing, just to get people started to see if they like it.
Right.
And the advantage of the pre-recorded video courses
Uh-huh.
is that you can go at your own pace,
Mm.
and you can set up a laptop wherever you are and have like 6 of your friends join you and follow the class along if you want, or you can do it by yourself
Right.
if it's a solo class. But what that does is it allows people just to go at their own pace. Whereas if you're
Mhm.
in a room full of people, particularly if it's a big class and maybe you're a beginner and there are a bunch of more experienced people there, perhaps the teacher isn't so used to teaching a mixed level class, you can
Right.
kind of get left behind and overwhelmed.
Mhm.
Whereas with a pre-recorded video, you could just hit pause at any time.
Right.
And of course, also, we have a private Discord server for members of the courses so that
Okay.
people who've signed up for the courses, they can always contact me if they need my help. But
Yeah.
sometimes people prefer, or it's actually sometimes more effective to
Mhm.
get help from somebody who's closer to your own level.
Right.
And so we have a kind of supportive community there of people who are training in these courses and others of my materials, so that you can make friends with people and ask questions and get advice and make suggestions and share cool stuff you found on the internet and what have you.
Right. I can't leave you without asking about your your card game.
Oh, right, sure. Okay, you want me to explain it?
Yes, please.
All right. The Fiori dei Liberi manuscript that I mentioned earlier, the longsword material is really cool. It's like, to my mind, it is the best source for medieval longsword out there. Okay. And one thing that students struggle with is the Italian terminology. So if you have the sword on your shoulder like this, that's posta di donna. And if you have the sword out forward like this, that's posta longa, and so on. Okay. And that's hard for people to remember. Right?
Yes.
It's like if you learn a Japanese martial art, they have like actions which have Japanese names, and you have to know those. Okay. This is the same sort of thing. So I thought one day, I was chatting with a student of mine, we were discussing this, and we're like, well, hang on, kids have no problem remembering 300 different Pokemon characters.
Right.
So why don't we get like the longsword techniques and guards and what have you, and the names of those things onto playing cards?
Yeah.
And so you could just like play poker or whatever. Because, for example, like in the Second World War, they had decks of cards which had enemy plane silhouettes on them, so you could recognize, that's a Junker 88 up there.
Yeah.
Right? And in the American troops in Afghanistan had poker decks with the 52 most wanted Al Qaeda terrorists. Their pictures on the cards. So when they're playing poker or whatever, that bloke over there, he looks a lot like the 9 of clubs. Right. And so that sort of thing works. And then the student I was talking to is a big gamer, and he said, well, why don't we just make a game out of it?
Okay.
And I was like, that's a bloody good idea.
Ooh.
So we raised some money and hired a game designer and hired an artist and crowdfunded the money to produce these 2 character decks, because you have one character, I have the other character, and we have rules for how the sword plays. So we have a total now of 4 character decks and a couple of expansion packs. One expansion pack is Armored Combat, and the other expansion pack is Lichtenauer stuff. Lichtenauer is the 15th century German longsword style that's sort of similar, it's related to or contemporary with Fioris. Okay, so the way it works is, you choose a guard and I choose a guard, and one of us attacks, and you can do these various actions. And of course, it can't map every possible sword fight, but every possible game, game that you play according to the rules, you can take swords and play out every action in the game, and it always works.
Gosh, that's really amazing.
Yeah, Samuli Raninen was the game designer, and he is a genius. So he figured out all of that. So he would say, he'll like call me up sometimes and say, okay, Guy, if your sword is down here and my sword is up there and I attack like this, what can you do and what would happen next? And I'll explain it to him, and then he'd sometimes come around and we'd go through stuff sword in hand. Literally, we worked it out so that every possible sequence of actions with the cards can be reproduced sword in hand without any logic problems.
What I love about this is that this is a game that you could play with others that actually teaches you about sword fighting.
It teaches you the terminology and also the tactical sequences. Like if you do this, and I do from this guard position, I do the thing that works in the game, it has a fair chance of working in reality.
Wow.
Right.
Where can we get that game, man? I need to get my hands on that.
Okay. The name of the game is Audacia, which is one of Fiori's 4 knightly virtues. That's Audatia.
Yes.
And the best place to get it is drivethroughcards.com. So if you go to
Cards.
drivethroughcards.com and put Audatia,
Okay.
Audatia, into the search engine,
Okay.
it'll come up.
And where can people find your class at, especially for online, if they wanted a couple of the videos?
Okay, if you go to swordschool.com,
Okay.
and there's various sort of options, and watch will take you to all the video stuff. There's
Okay.
a bunch of free video stuff,
Yeah.
and there's also the paid courses, and it's all under swordschool.com, and then watch, WATCH.
I
Like, you
believe
want to
you.
watch a
I
video,
believe we
go
need
watch
to
a
get
video.
you. I believe we need to get you on a master class. Be part of that. I think that would be nice. Is there any?
I've got a picture to them.
What else are you? What else are you working on here? On top of this.
Right now,
Yeah.
I'm currently working on recreating a 17th century. Basically, it's a set of solo forms for a weapon called a Jägerstock, which is a 9 or 10 feet long spear with a spearhead at each end.
Yeah.
It's actually on the wall up there, but there's no way I can swing it around in here to show you, because all you see would be a stick.
Right.
It's literally it's about 9.5 feet long, and it's got a spearhead at each end, and it is intended for fighting multiple opponents at once.
Okay.
Which is great fun. So I'm recreating that. I haven't published anything on it yet, but there'll be stuff going live on my blog about it fairly soon.
Okay.
I'm also running a podcast called The Sword Guy. You know, Guy Windsor, The Sword Guy. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's an interview that goes up every week. We've just published episode 100. So we've had
really? Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I started it as a lockdown project, you know, in June 2020 as on a whim. I thought, okay, I'll get 6 episodes or so and see how that goes. And before I knew it, I had 10.
Right.
And I was enjoying it so much, I just kept it going and kept it going.
Absolutely.
It's great. Yeah.
Now, is it on all audio streaming services or?
Yeah, everywhere.
Everywhere.
And anywhere you get podcasts, if you just put The Sword Guy into your podcast app, it will pop right up.
Okay. And where do you you said you also have a blog?
Yes, that's at guywindsor.net or guywindsor.com.
All right. That way, you know, I can send people to go check out your work, you know, and if they're interested in wanting to learn that as well. Before I let you go, I got to ask, what's your favorite weapon?
Okay, my favorite weapon is the one I happen to be holding. Seriously, it's like when I pick up a rapier, it's like, oh my God, this is just obviously the best sword ever, right? But as soon as I pick up, I don't know, for instance, this is a single-handed sword. Yeah. Like an arming sword, like a knightly sword. It's like, well, this is obviously what a sword should be like.
Right.
Right? Or, you know, when I'm playing with my Jägerstock, it's like, who cares about swords? This thing is 9 feet long. I can stab you from a mile away. Right. So yeah, I don't have a one favorite weapon.
Do you have a go-to weapon that you prefer going to, that you know that best works for you, that just feels comfortable?
I love them all. I mean, if I'm just going to train with one sword on a given day, it's probably going to be a longsword. Longsword. Because you can use it with one hand, you can use it with two hands. There's a whole lot of longsword stuff that is like a spear, a whole lot of longsword work that is like a poleaxe, a whole lot of longsword work you do in one hand, which is kind of like a rapier, kind of like a saber. You know, it's like a multi-tool almost. Yeah. But you know, I couldn't say this is my favorite sword. It's like, I just love all of them. And you know, if what I happen to be holding is a dagger, well, you can have your sword. I've got this. You're toast.
As long as you're able to utilize that weapon, you know, to the best of your ability, it doesn't matter what you got. Right. And yeah, and I really like unarmed stuff too. Yeah. So, you know, I do a lot of sort of training for unarmed punching, kicking, throws, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Because like the weapon is a tool and it makes your life easier. And it makes some things possible that wouldn't otherwise be possible. But I don't like to fixate on the weapon itself.
because that's just the shiny bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the bit that everyone pays attention to. But if you're not standing correctly, it's not going to help you that much.
Right.
If you're not moving properly, it's not going to help you that much. So actually, an awful lot of my practice is done without any weapons at all.
Right.
Or with just a stick, which can be whatever weapon you want it to be in that moment.
Right. Yeah.
So I actually do a lot of practice with just a stick. You can practice point control. So does the end of the stick go exactly where you want it to go? And when the stick is like 6 or 7 feet long and you're holding it by one end, it's good for the grip. It's good for the structure because you have to be you have to be organized properly to make it work. And it's really good for accuracy because if you can get the point of this like 6 foot long stick exactly where you want it to go when you're holding it by the other end, stabbing somebody with a 4 foot long rapier is easy.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people like to jump to a sword, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The formation on how you present yourself is the most important of handling swords.
Yeah. If you're not moving right, then the weapon is just going to get in your way. And I have seen people hurt themselves with their own weapon.
Yeah, that's
right. Which
fatal casualty.
It's a common kind of it's what happens when you're basically fixated on the weapon and you're not really paying attention to the whole thing. So one thing I like to say is, if I'm holding a sword that weighs, well, you're in America, so let's put it in pounds, maybe 3.5 pounds. A long sword, maybe 3 pounds, something like that.
Okay.
And I am, let me do a quick conversion in my head, something around maybe 160.
Okay.
So the weapon is about 2% of the total mass, right? So maybe it should just get 2% of my attention and the rest of me should get the rest of the attention.
Right. Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's not, and when you use a tool a lot, it becomes an extension of yourself. It becomes an extension of your body. Like when I'm holding this, it's a tool that allows me to reach further.
Right.
Once you spend enough time using any given tool, and they've done neurological studies on this, your brain starts to perceive the tool as part of your body.
Yeah.
That literally happens inside your brain.
And that shortens your actual reach.
No, not at all. It lengthens your reach.
But what I'm saying is that if your body's not mindly set in the formation, you could actually get more out of that reach if you're properly focused on the formation that you present yourself.
Yeah, but the point of the weapon being perceived by the brain as part of the body is it means you don't have to think about it. It means that it just becomes, it's like your finger. You don't have to, when you wriggle your fingers, you don't have to consciously think about wriggling them.
Right.
And when you stick a dagger where it wants to go, or where you want to put it, you don't consciously think about it. It's like, okay, I want to hit that bit over there. Let's say the side of your neck. Boom, out it goes. I don't think about it. Right. My brain reaches or sort of organizes myself behind the blow.
Right.
Because it perceives this as an extension of my hand, and it knows exactly how long it is and exactly where it's going in the same way it knows where my fingers are.
Right. Okay.
Right.
No, what I was referring to is that there was a study done. I was reading an article last week that a person with a weapon ends up, because they're so fixated on the weapon itself, they become shortened to themselves, which means they couldn't get the actual full distance. So what I was referring to was the actual, if you're holding a sword
person.
Right.
That has to be an untrained person.
Right.
I can reach 4 feet further with a 4 foot long sword than I can with that one.
Well, yeah. So what a new person that is just focusing on the sword and doesn't have the formation on themselves,
they kind of tighten up. This.
Yeah. And so they could actually reach that 4 feet, could actually end up being 6 feet if they're really positioned and they're properly trained mentally, and if it,
but that's what the training is for.
Yeah, exactly.
So that if I can reach the target over there, standing from here with the weapon, and standing from here without the weapon,
right?
If I've got the weapon, I'm going to be standing here because I know how long my weapon is.
Right.
And that's a sort of a critical aspect of what training does to you. When you're training your weapons, you're incorporating the characteristics of the weapon into your brain so that you use the weapon as it needs to be used, or as basically it's a labor-saving device. With this sword, I can hit you from further away, and it requires less effort for me to do mortal damage. Right. So it makes my life easier. With beginners, the weapon is this heavy object that they have to haul around from place to place that restricts motion. But once you've trained with it, once you're comfortable with it, and then again, that's what all this solo training business is about. It's from a weapons perspective, it's about giving you the time with the weapon in hand, doing useful things, so that your brain can kind of extend neurologically into the sword. Okay, that's metaphorical, but you get the idea. It makes the sword part of your body. It becomes part of you.
Yeah, no, I completely understand and agree with you. Yeah, and that's what you exactly provide in your courses and in training.
That's the idea, yeah.
So, listen, I appreciate your time for coming on here and talking to us. I'm learning something new. I don't feel like it's gotten as much an appropriate attention as it should have in this type of
it's still a bit niche.
Yeah.
And
it should be
that's why we're here, right?
That is exactly.
Swords are cool. You can play with them,
and but yeah, I will definitely be sending people out to check out your work and your stuff. And we could check out your podcast. You said it's the Sword Guy, right?
That's right.
Weekly podcast. There we go.
But
on Fridays. All right. Well, I listen. I appreciate your time coming on our show and talking with me about swords in the medieval Renaissance and all the training.
Thank you, Justin. It's been nice to meet you.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Thank you. Have a good one. All right. That was Guy Windsor. Great stuff. We got to cut to a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we'll continue on our conversation, taking you up until noon here on Justin and Trey. Help welcome me, David. Is it Fulcher? Did I say that correctly?
It is Fulcher, Fulcher. How you guys doing, man?
I'm doing good. And you?
Well, it's funny, man. My wife and I have been moving for the last couple of days, and when the wife says she wants me to grab boxes and move them around, I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do. So I tried to get here as fast as I could, man. So I'm taking a little break just to come and talk to you guys, man. How's it going?
It's going great, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Gosh, we got a lot of great football coming up here. Pro Bowl tomorrow, the Super Bowl coming up next Sunday. You got a chance to be a part of both of them in your career. Can you kind of walk us through both of the experience, being a 3-time Pro Bowler and getting a chance to play in the Super Bowl?
Well, let's talk Super Bowl first, man. Okay. I will tell you that, my first 3 years in the league, having an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, not too many people get a chance to do that. This team that they got now, guys are second and third years going to the Super Bowl. So that's pretty exciting. And when I played in the Super Bowl back in 1988, I'm not even sure you guys were born yet. But if you weren't, then, now you guys get a chance to see what Cincinnati football is really about. Yeah. But back in 1988, man, that was a phenomenal year for us. The year before, we went 4-12 due to the strike year. So we missed a lot of games that were pretty close, but we didn't finish. So then the following year, we played a pretty good year. We finished 14-5 and wind up losing to the 49ers in the Super Bowl, which was probably the ultimate game I've ever played in, due to the fact that we're playing against the San Francisco 49ers. I was hoping that a Bengals 49ers rematch would have been great, round 3, but the Rams said no, not this time. But just the opportunity to play in the Super Bowl, man, unbelievable. I mean,
You think you know me. Say I'm as cold.
Alrighty, we just had a great conversation with Guy Windsor. Swordsmanship, swordman fighting, great guy, great interview. I'm learning things new every day. There is a level of things that you just don't get taught in just modern engine searching. I would recommend going checking out his podcast, The Sword Guy, hosted every weekly, every Friday. So go check him out. And I love it. It's not just about how you hold a sword. It's about controlling the sword with it's making being one with the sword. And there's a lot more into it. He has a book called the Windsor Method, and encourage you guys to go and get it. It's on Amazon.com and any audio platforms or any book platforms. Check out his school, and then check out his card games, drivethroughcards.com. The Sword Guy. All right, the Reds and the Guardians will play later on today at 12:35 p.m. in Cincinnati. It's a getaway day for Cincinnati as they take off to L.A. for a 4-game. I want to say it's a 4-game series against the Dodgers. I do have the lineups. I will present that here in just a little bit later on at the end of our program. I do want to talk a little bit more about baseball, so that's probably wrapping up in that world. Let's dive into the world of professional wrestling. I think that's our next goal, our next segment, our next stage. Here we go. And I have it all. I want to continue. WWE, man, I'm telling you. New reports came out today coming from Inside Ropes. An article by Lyle Kilben that was published yesterday. WWE reportedly knew about the Carter chaos long before his release. And it was an article. I want to read you this article here right after this quick promotional video. Stay tuned. You guys check out and support your future stars today at NWF Wrestling. See Adam Swayze, Rex, Sean Evans, Ella, Riley Matthews, Big Mama, The Great King Titan, and more as they show off their talent in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. Become a part of the NWF Army by heading out to their weekly events. Find more information at NWFWrestling.com. They have an upcoming event that I know of, at least April 23rd. It's called the Thunderdome. They're bringing back the Thunderdome, you guys. It is a 8-man was battle royal or match inside a steel cage, open top, kind of like how I've been described. It's like a Hell in a Cell without the top. So 8 men. That's going to be a part of it. You have Adam Swayze, Rex, The Great King Titan, Nasty Rust, Pompano Joe, James Cross, Star Rider, and I'm always losing the last one out here. I have it. I think I have it written down somewhere. What happens? I have it here. Just bear with me. It's somewhere. Well, maybe I don't. I'll probably have to go to Facebook to get that. Like always. It's not in my notes. Well, let me find that out for you. I think that's only fair. Just doesn't want to load in the Come on. I'm trying to get you this so I can read you the article. Oh, well, I would have to click on it. Duh. There we go. Can't be that far up. They got a Thunderdome. It's going to be the Great King Titan, James Cross, the Swinger, Pompano Joe, Rex, Adam Swayze, Star Rider, and Nasty Russ for the NWF Championship. So that will be on April 23rd, coming to you there. I know Trey and I will be headed out to that event. I want to give Trey a thanks because April 23rd is my birthday. And so he was kind enough to get my ticket for as a birthday present. So I'm thank you, Trey, for picking up my ticket, and we're gonna go have a great time. We will have a show that day. We actually have two guests, the Great King Titan and Adam Swayze on that day. So we will definitely have a really, really busy day. But let's get to this article here from Inside Ropes. The article that states WWE reportedly knew about Nash Carter's chaos long before release. And just going to pop up the right information here for you guys. And this is where I kind of feel things are kind of starting to go wayside. Let's face it. All right, so let's read this article here. Nash Carter firing from WWE has reportedly not gone down well backstage in the company, and it's said many knew about the situation long before it was raised. Well, the situation we're talking about is the situation of Nash Carter and his girlfriend, wife. I don't know exactly. They were in a relationship with each other. Kimberly, who is in Impact Wrestling, made accusations of Nash Carter being committing domestic abuse. Across a number of now deleted posts, Kimberly wrote that she has been going through hell since October. She later explained that the abuse led to her almost taking her own life. The Impact Wrestling star said that she had hidden Carter's abuse in hopes of keeping a career. I think this is a true conversation to have. Listen, we have a problem, today. You go out and say something, especially with the females, you say something and you get scrutinized. You get yourself, social media has attacked it, and it's like, well, if I come out, I'm never going to have a career, or my career is going to be tarnished. And that's not the case. And I sure hope that's not the case for Kimberly. This shouldn't affect her and her career because she's coming to making public about the real life situations. All right. Nash Carter, according to Inside Ropes, Kimberly followed up with sharing herself about taking off the post. Carter has lipped open, also disturbing images, which apparently shows Nash giving a Nazi statue, a salute, sorry. In a report, Dave Meltzer speaks on Wrestling Observer Radio, has now noted that Carter's release was not gone down well backstage in WWE. And he says WWE knew about the situation, although it is not clear if he means the Nazi photo or the abuse allegation. So they knew that there was something going on with Nash Carter. They just didn't know which story was the reason behind it. I mean, let's remind everyone that earlier this year, I want to say this year, or if it was not previous last year, the Brian Kendrick did not get signed with AEW because of how things went with his reports. And just like we've seen this with John Gruden, just like we've seen this with the Brian Kendrick story. It doesn't matter if it happened tomorrow, if it happened yesterday, if it happened 30. Look at what happened with Ric Flair. That was a perfect prime example. It does not matter when you did something. If you did something and it comes to the surface, it's going to be revealed, and it can tarnish a legacy and a career. We're seeing a plain image in this last year happening several times. Meltzer, here's one of the quotes that Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio. In NXT, from what I have heard, the decision to fire him was not taken well, because I think people liked him and everything like that. The quotation, the parentheses Hitler photo was when he was 19 years old, and it was a photo that got him sacked from the company. I know that the WWE was aware of the whole thing before the event went public. I had heard right before Stand and Deliver some stuff was coming out, and I know people there who said WWE was aware long before this problem. So we have a problem here. And now the problem is with the WWE. And there is an image and a reputation that you do collect when you know information, and if there's a zero tolerance out of what you're doing, and if you have a standard and people don't meet your standard, you need to take care. Don't worry about what business brings you over what your integrity lies. If the WWE has a standard of a zero tolerance policy for anything like this, what's going on with Nash Carter, okay, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's abuse, whether it's inappropriate symbols and signs, regardless, if you have a zero tolerance policy and you knew about this, you need to take care of it. It doesn't matter what's coming up right afterwards. Now, finding out that this has been something that the WWE knew since since before Stand and Deliver, it makes you question, why did you put the title on Nash Carter and MSK to begin with if you knew you were going to have to vacate that title? Were they thinking that, because we knew about it yet, that we didn't have to take any action? That's where I start thinking, okay, what's going on behind the scenes? If there's reports of the WWE knowing, morning allergies. If there's reports of the WWE knowing this, any story, whether it was the abuse, whether it was the Nazi, this was well done, several years ago. I'm assuming that the WWE did their homework prior to, signing him to begin with. What did they do? So let's sweep it underneath the rug until it comes out, and then, we didn't know, which is not true. There's even talks around the locker room, according to Dave Meltzer. So this is not, as much as we don't want to, as much as we're pointing fingers and blaming, yes, what Nash Carter's done is wrong. WWE isn't the heroic factor in this. The WWE didn't sit there and didn't come and take proper action prior to hand. And I think it makes it now a lot worse. And now a lot of the eyes are going back on the WWE, office side. What the hell happened? I want to know what the hell happened with this story. I want to know, because I know there's obviously reports out there that people know something prior to him being released. People knew something prior to NXT Stand and Deliver. People knew something prior to last week. And if that's the case, why did the WWE allow it to continue as long as it did? That's what I want to know. Why did the WWE allow it to continue? Why did the WWE decide to put the NXT tag team titles on Nash Carter? Because now that reputation of those NXT tag team titles, it's gone to wayside. And I don't think I don't think it helps the situation out. The fact that Imperium is now splitted, so you really have a vacant NXT titles that will. It said it was supposed to be relieved this week, next week. But I read something that they will resolve it if they hasn't already been resolved, because I didn't watch last night NXT 2.0. So I'll have to do my homework after the show. But there's a lot of questions there, you guys. And I think that this is only going to start looking at it worse. And you got to point the fingers back out to WWE. I mean, there's just no way. I mean, if there's an article out there, even if there's an article out there, there needs to be you need to be on top of it, making a statement. You know, we're investigating into this matter. We're going to do our own investigation in this matter. He should have been immediately put on a, temporary suspension for this. The title should have been automatically stripped. I just don't understand. There is a protocol and there is a place to do this. And that's where I'm not getting at. That's where I'm finding my trouble around the WWE allowing this to happen, and for this now to come out even further. There's going to be more information about this. We will keep you guys updated. But man, hot take already here in the WWE. It's only Wednesday. It's only our day 1 of 5 days this week. All right, we're going to cut to a break. You guys, listen, we're doing a campaign, you guys. Please help us out. We need as much help as possible. The NWF Wrestling has an event coming up on next on May 28th. It's called Revolution Rising. They're teaming up with NWF is teaming up with PGWA, hosting an event in Cincinnati, downtown Cincinnati, for a event called Revolution Rising, where it's all women in wrestling. Now, Trey and I are big advocates of wrestling, women in wrestling. We would like to extend our support, and so by doing that, we are doing a fundraiser, a donation fundraiser. All the proceeds will go right back to the NWF and more. And if you guys want to donate, please contact us on our PayPal. Send anything you can. And if you donate, we will give you a shout out on our show down in our comments down below. So please donate. If you guys can't donate through PayPal because you don't have PayPal, reach out to me, man. DM me and say, hey, listen, I want to contribute and donate. So please do so. All right, coming up next, let's take a look at what AEW Dynamite has in store for you before we start getting into baseball. All that still to come right here on the Justin and Trey TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
You look worried, and maybe you should be, 'cause this is a warning that I'm throwing out, 'cause I'm the worst player that ever will play you, to mix up sweet words with the girl's sanity. Boy, I'm falling.
You could, I mean, you should be able to type in TNC Sports Talk, the Jay and Trey podcast stuff. It's a little difficult to find. Right, but are you seeing this as well as I do? Yep, right. Just making sure because I'm on the link, and you see our two logos, the Jay and Trey podcast. So you could click on, let's say we click on TNC, it's going to open up to the page, and now you could click T-shirt, TNC Sports Talk logos T-shirt. You can get it in different colors, and it shows you the color before buying it. And so I really, hey, you want to get a pink one? Get a pink one. It fits to male, female. And so all I had to do was upload the logo. And it did all this for me. It comes in up to 5X, from small to 5X in male, and up to 3X in female, which I thought was very good.
I woke up, she was looking at me. She told me I've been cheating on
You guys can shop TNC Sports Talk merchandise today at T Public. Get your t-shirts, phone cases, mugs, and more. Grab your favorite sports talk show gear today by heading on over to www.tpublic.com/user/TNC-sports-talk. Order now. We want to give a shout out to StreamYard. Thank you, StreamYard, to be the proud home of Justin and Trey right here on TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. StreamYard Studios, where you could create podcasts, videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out their free version today at StreamYard.com. Tomorrow, we got some other great announcements. Trey, like I said, Trey will be back tomorrow talking about some other announcements that we have going on. I don't know if I'm ready for it, but I guess, it's going to happen eventually. All right. Also interesting in this month coming up here in Las Vegas at the end of the month, April 28th through the 30th, we have the NFL draft coming your way. All right. And we're going to start bringing some guests on and talk about the NFL draft and basketball as the playoffs. And then on top of that, we got to talk about, as the season approaches, all the things are happening. We're also going to get a chance to talk about NBA playoffs, college basketball ending up. We got a bunch more guests coming your way here in the month of April. And things are already starting to book for May as well. So you guys don't want to miss a single episode. I know I've been behind. I apologize, you guys. I keep on telling you, hey, we're going to have some new commercial break videos coming up, with new content. And I'm still working around that. It's just a time-consuming issue that I'm dealing with. So please bear with me, we'll get that done here shortly. All right, hey, listen, AEW is Dynamites tonight, and there are a couple of things going on, and we're seeing the crossroads between Ring of Honor and AEW, because tonight we have Ring of Honor's World TV Championship title match on the line. Minoru Suzuki will defend his title tonight against Samoa Joe. That will be available at 8 p.m. Eastern time on TBS. Don't want to check that out. I don't want to miss that out. AEW has announced its two big title matches for tonight's show. Minoru Suzuki will defend his Ring of Honor World Television title against Samoa Joe, while AEW World Tag Team Champions Jurassic Express will defend their title against Red Dragon. That's all tonight coming your way. You would also it's already an impactful card. I think you've seen everything. So you got CM Punk and Penta squaring off. Marina Shafir and will make her TV debut against Sky Blue. MJF will take on Sean Dean. Santana Ortiz and Eddie Kingston will square off in a 6-man tag match against Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, and Daniel Garcia. Of the Jericho Appreciation Society, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland will take on Powerhouse Hobbs and FTW's champion, Ricky Starks. AEW World Tag Team Champions Jurassic Express defends their titles against Red Dragon. We just mentioned that. Ring of Honor's World Television Champion Minoru Suzuki will defend his title against Samoa Joe. You'd also Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt have a big surprise for Samoa Joe tonight. Like I said, all the coverage on TBS starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't want to miss a single action, and stay up to date with AEW news feeds and whatnot. We're doing all the reading and all that stuff already out of the way. So we're going to start making our way back here as we get ready for the Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Guardians. Square to tip off today at 12:35 p.m. I got the lineup here set up for you. Before we get into the lineup and start talking about today's game, I think we have to address yesterday's problem and yesterday's situation and issues. And yesterday, the Cincinnati Reds got beat 10-5 thanks to some late inning stuff. Like I mentioned earlier in the program, Hunter Strickland went a third of an inning, 4 hits, 4 runs. Okay, gave up total 6 runs in the 9th inning. And in a ball game that was very competitive, it was slam-packed house, and it was the home opener for the Reds. Shane Bieber started for the Cleveland Indians, and you had Tyler Mahle, who started for the Cincinnati Reds. Now, Tyler Mahle already had his opening day start, was well contributed. I really enjoyed it. And now, then that was back with Atlanta. Then he gets his chance to have his opening day start against Cleveland at home. And when you think of guys like Mike Minor and Luis Castillo being on the IL right now, Tyler Mahle stepping up to the plate. And I think this is that little push. Hey, at least throughout the month of April, you need to give that push that the Reds are trying to make an adjustment to figuring out where they, what they're going to need to do, because they don't have a significant 5-man rotation. They're filling it in as they go. And so when you fill it in as we go, we have to be able to analyze, all right, that, hey, we have to have a good, we're going to look at them, because come the middle of May, we're going to have a 5-man rotation, and we're going to need these guys to get their feet wet. And throughout the ball game, like I said, I read this earlier in the program. Shane Bieber, 5 in a third inning, 2 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Tyler Mahle, 4 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, and 4 strikeouts. If you're asking me, I don't think that's a terrible outing. Okay, it's in Cincinnati. It was a little warmer, a little muggy. It was kind of all over the place with the weather yesterday, and I thought it was a really good outing from both pitchers. Well, I wouldn't say really good outing, but I feel like Tyler Mahle held his ground when it came down to facing, squaring off against Shane Bieber. Now, this is where things got a little interesting, because in the third inning, a fly ball was hit to left center field, mainly towards center field for Nick Senzel. Tommy Pham was coming over, and I don't know what type of communication there was or wasn't, but Tommy, as Nick Senzel's diving feet first, sliding in to make the grab, which it's clear in my eyes that Nick Senzel had the ball, at least in him. I don't know if he was going to make the catch, but he was in there in the moment. Well, here comes Tommy Pham coming out and sliding headfirst to make the dive catch, and then they collide. Now, I don't think this was a terrible collision. Both men were a little banged up. Excuse me. Tommy Pham was left the game later on in the day. I mean, probably jacked up his shoulder. He's not in today's lineup, as I will reveal later on. But that inning had 4 runs or 3 runs come across, and that was in the third. And then, from a simple communication error, which that's what I felt we were at. But we saw a great 2-1 home run to straightaway center field from Tyler Naquin in the 6th inning. And for the most part, it was a competitive game. Then we get to the 9th inning. And I get it, not everyone's going to have a decent day, but all Hunter Strickland had to do was send the team to the bottom of the inning. Because according to the stat records and score sheets, if the Reds didn't give up the 6 runs and 4 of them came in but thanks to Hunter Strickland, we wouldn't have had to worry about seeing the Reds losing, and they could walk away. But here's the worst part, and we're going to cut to a commercial break here. Here's the worst part of it all. The problem is that it wasn't because of the game. I'm not even frustrated or upset at the game. Yeah, maybe I'm disappointed in the outcome of the Reds not winning. But I'm upset about what happened prior to that and the statements that were said that you really almost make me embarrassed to even try to support a guy like Bob Castellini or try to even have faith in humanity in the Cincinnati Reds organization, not the players, the organization. So let's cover that. Let's take a break. Last break of the day. And we'll get that coverage in. Moving out here, closer to the Cincinnati area, the local team is the Cincinnati team, right? Therefore, I've been told from like the fall time, you have to at least support your local team, the local team. Which I'm like, okay, that's fair. It's not the rivalry to the Rams, so I'm not like, why? Because, I mean, he was trying to support the Seahawks and the 49ers. No. And so when they won the AFC NFC championship game and they're going to figured out that the team that I root for and the team that I support are going to the Super Bowl, it's a win-win for me if you think about this. And so I jumped on. You saw the Joe Burrow jersey because I let Justin borrow it at the Super Bowl party that we had. And this one came in on Monday, and I told the guys at work, I was like, listen, I'm going to wear the team he won to work. And no one gave me shit about it. I was happy. I was happy as a horse. Because we got a chance to see, I got a chance to at least support the team I won. And I will tell you this. I'm going to be honest with you. I wish that Merriman is not coming down. Sean Merriman's jersey is not coming down. This Cooper's Cup. I wish that the Bengals jersey was up there instead of the Rams. But I think I'm more impressed of the game just itself.
I'll be set by rock and roll. You can take my money, steal my car, and sell my clothes. You can take the shoes I'm in, go on and take everything. You can have about everything I own. Just leave that open.
All right. All right. So I want to send off, like I said, the Guardians and the Reds will be taking a getaway day today while the Reds are planning to head over to LA to kick off their home opener. Think about this. I talked to you about this, which, by the way, we will have a 3-game. I would actually be doing a couple games this weekend on right here on TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. A Saturday game and a Sunday game, calling some baseball. So if you guys are wanting to listen in or tune into that, I recommend you guys doing that over there. Just trying to get this squared up here. So what we will be listening to, here's the problem. And the reason I have the screen up is because I am sharing a screen so you guys can get some audio. And I don't want you guys to. I don't like when just random things pop up. I have to share the screen and then it automatically pops up and before anything happens. I just don't like that. See? Yeah. And then you got to remove it. So I like to have something popped up in this way while I'm trying to do some of that work. But I want to play this audio for you guys. Here's the problem. I wasn't upset about yesterday about the game. I mean, okay, I was upset, but I could handle a 10-5 loss once in a while. What I can't handle is trying to support an owner of a franchise, well, probably one of the arguably greatest franchises in sports history, and then he comes back out and makes a remarkable statement. Now, yesterday, let's paint you the image. I told you about this yesterday and how the Cincinnati Reds is probably notorious for one of the biggest celebrations on opening day. People call off of work. They come down. They do a parade that day. The Finley Market's in town. I mean, they plan this stuff out. And it starts at high noon, and it goes until way after the game. Win or loss, rain or shine. I'm telling you, it's a big product for Cincinnati baseball fans. You saw a incredible crowd for a team for a fan base who is not so pleased about how Bob Castellini and the Reds are handling their business with free agents and contract signings. You saw a tremendous crowd. Well, let's a report earlier. I have it right here. Here's an article. I shared this from Fox 19 now. The Reds, Phil Castellini, Bob Castellini, the owners of the Cincinnati Reds, apologizes for comments about moving the team due to profitability. I want to read you this article. Cincinnati Reds president and COO Phil Castellini issued a formal apology Tuesday night after making a controversial comments directing the fans, hoping the Reds organization will change the hand. Let's remind people here that the excuse me. Excuse me. Gosh. Let's remind people here, you guys, that Bob Castellini was against the lift of the lockdown. That he decided that he was going to make different trades and that people weren't understanding him. And I was one of those guys supporting, hey, listen, Nick Castellanos was too much money. You had to dump out and you hit it with Suarez, and that came at a cost of Jesse Winker. You shipped Sonny Gray, which I didn't care for. Excuse me, sorry. But then we get down to opening day. Let's get all this behind us. Let's enjoy ourselves. Give me a second here. I apologize, you guys. Allergies in the morning. I gotta check my face to make sure everything is profitable. All right. So we get down to yesterday's show. Right? After a loss of a 10-5 against the Cleveland Guardians, Castellini issued a statement apologizing. He was on Twitter. He said, I apologize to the Reds fans and regret the comments that were made earlier today. And I'll tell you about the comments he made earlier today, yesterday. We love the city, we love this team, and we love our fans. I understand how our fans feel, and I am sorry. Okay. A tweet from Joe Daneman on Fox 19. Phil Castellini issues a formal apology on his radio commenting today. Matter of fact, I will share this. And that's what he had. Now, what comments are you thinking about him saying? All right, well, Fosnack 19 also tweeted this out. Former Cincinnati Red Nick Castellanos in a ESPN story examining the problem of tanking in Major League Baseball, because a lot of teams do that. We've already been exposed to how the Miami Marlins and the Pittsburgh Pirates tank their team so they can get early draft picks. Well, let's clear the bubble now. All right. Nick Castellanos says, well, what sucks is that in a great city like Cincinnati, where the fan base is impeccable, which it is. I finally got it out. Yay. Where the fan base is impeccable, it is suffocating because of ownership. I'm not saying that they are bad people. The system's bad. Okay, I remotely agree. I can understand it. It is a bad system. It's not a great system, especially you've seen all the trades. This is what gets me, though. Okay, listen to Phil Castellini's WLW interview before the Reds home opener. All right, so if you could actually go on. And I want to share this. I want to make sure people understand that you could go out and check this out too. All right. Head on over to Woo at Woo the Reds Twitter account. Phil Castellini doesn't care what the fans think because you have no choice but to root for them, or the team will be sold and moved. So I'm going to play you the audio, you guys. Cincinnati Reds. It's impeccable, but listen to this.
That's the bottom line.
Sloaney asked you about the quote, show little faith in us, right?
Yeah.
And I saw you got raked to the coals. So you have people who say, look, faith is earned, 15 years of ownership. They haven't won to the extent that we would like. And so you had my faith, but you've lost it. Why should that fan maintain trust in you?
Well, where are you going to go? Let's start there. I mean, sell the team to who? I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, you want to have this debate. You know, if you want to look at what would you do with this team to have it be more profitable, make more money, compete more in the current economic system that this game exists, it would be to pick it up and move it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so be careful what you ask for. You know, I think we're doing the best we can do with the resources that we have.
Is that how it
we're no more
is?
pleased with the results than the fans. I'm not sitting here saying anybody should be. I'm not polishing any trophies in the office right now, and that's what we're here to do. But, you know, the bottom line is, and I do think we've had to shift the discipline. We've tried a lot of things that didn't work, and they came this close to working and didn't. Nobody's got to tell me it didn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
So I think we've learned from those things. And trust me, Nick is a guy on a mission. And he is a bull in a china shop that has his way to do it, and that way is to grow your own, and he's doing just that. That's
all right. I mean, that's said. It's well said about Nick, about Bob Castellini. I mean, I will tell you this. Excuse me. I will tell you this from the get-go. That Phil Castellini, I'm sorry, you're digging your own grave. I was supporting you and believing. I understand. You try things and they fail. Okay, the San Diego Padres, A.J. Preller has tried things. Okay, back in 2014, they went out and unloaded they stacked up on their players. Matt Kemp, Derek Norris, Craig Kimball, James Shield, Justin Upton. They tried. Yonder Alonso, Yasmani Grandel, and they failed. Okay?
Maki, Ricky, Danny, Terry, Mikey, Davey, Timmy, Tommy, Joey, Robbie, Johnny, and Brian.
But to sit there and then say, what do you want from us? If you don't like us, oh well. we'll replace you. We will move to a place where they will adore us. Now you're sounding like Stan Kroenke. Now you're sounding like the Los Angeles Rams. In Los Angeles, I'm not. This is where it starts pissing me off, because how am I supposed to be a Cincinnati Reds fan? I move out here from San Diego, and I'm trying to give Cincinnati Reds a chance, an opportunity to be a team that I could get behind and support. They have tremendous history. You've seen greatness. I understand they're stuck because the sixth highest player on the team has been retired for over a decade. I get that. It's happened. The Padres had to deal with that with Jed Jerko. They had to pay half of his salary for like 5 years for him to play with St. Louis Cardinals. I get that. But listen, I was in support of Bob Castellini's decisions on, okay, let's not re-sign Nick Castellanos because he's somewhere else. We got to get rid of Eugenio Suarez because he's killing me with numbers. I paid him so much money, he's not producing. I understand that because it came at the cost of Jesse Winker. I'm trying to find an understanding, and I'm understanding with Sonny Gray. But when you come back out and you tell me that, oh, well, we don't have a choice but to be a fan. We don't have a choice but to come to these games. Well, you know what? Let me tell you something, fans. He's absolutely right. These organizations around here, take a look at any sports team. Are you a sports fan? They will do what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. And you know why they could get away with it? It's because they make millions of dollars doing it. You know why they make millions of dollars of doing it? Is because they sit there and you go to the games. The moment you stop going to the games because you're frustrated with management is the moment that they will decide to change. Okay, Padres raise up their ticket prices. Well, you know what? Yeah, they're starting to win. But if you don't like something, if you don't like how the Reds and the ownership are treating you, don't go to the game. It's never going to happen. You're never not going to tune into the Reds game. You're never going to not listen to it on WLW. You're never going to not attend a Great American Ballpark. Therefore, what is Bob Castellini doing wrong? WWE fans, okay, you're not selling out every game, but you're going to venues. You watch them on Peacock. You watch them on the USA Network. You watch them on YouTube. They're doing. I mean, they made $1 billion. What are they doing wrong? Bob Castellini says, "Hey, we got fans in the crowd. Okay, what am I doing wrong? I'm making money." The moment that, and with such of a historical background the Reds have, Cincinnati has in sports, it's hard not to go to the Reds game. It's really not. Let's get to the starting lineup of today's game at 12:35 here to wrap up our show right after this last promotional video. You guys can join Steve Barber and Dwaylon Davis as they break down news and highlights in professional wrestling. The Armchair Booking Podcast is a weekly wrestling podcast found on YouTube and all audio streaming platforms. Go check out follow Armchair Booking today. I will also like to take this time and just remind people that NBA playoffs is about to approach this Friday. All right, they got these play-in games. I'm not too big about. Okay, I watched the Clippers lost yesterday, 109-104. The Cleveland Cavaliers losing 115-108. Two more games on tonight. Coming up here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Charlotte and Atlanta. Atlanta's at home. And then you have San Antonio taking on New Orleans at 9:30. Then there will be 2 more games, I want to say tomorrow, okay? And then the playoffs start this weekend. Don't want to miss any of that out. We'll be here all week, 10 to noon, and then 10 p.m. to midnight on Saturday and Sunday. All right, let's get down to today's ball games. The Cleveland Indians and the Cincinnati Reds. This wrap up this home series here. The wrong one. We will talk more about this draft that's coming up here later on this week as well. Cleveland Indians and the Cincinnati Reds kicking things off at 12:30 p.m. here in about 35 minutes for White when we go off of air. I have the starting lineups and everything for you today. Okay. Starting off with the Cleveland Indians, batting first in center field will be Miles Straw. Batting second in left field, Stephen Kwan. Batting third at third base, Jose Ramirez, and he had a really good game yesterday. The designated hitter batting cleanup, Franmil Reyes. Ahmed Rosario will take the number 5th spot at shortstop. Owen Miller will be at first base, batting 6th. Batting 7th, Ernie Clement, okay, at second base. Batting 8th in right field, Oscar Mercado. And batting 9th, Austin Hedges. He'll be behind the plate. You got Straw, Kwan, Ramirez, Reyes, Rosario, Miller, Clement, Mercado, and Hedges as the starting lineup for the Cleveland Indians. With the pitching matchup on the mound for the Indians, Tristan McKenzie. Now for the Cincinnati Reds to wrap up our show, Jonathan India will lead off, batting first at second base. Okay, batting second at right field, Tyler Naquin. Batting third at behind the plate, Tyler Stevenson. Joey Votto will be batting cleanup at first base. All right. He's batting 176. Batting 5th, Aristides Aquino in left field. Batting 6th, Kyle Farmer at shortstop. The designated hitter, Mike Moustakas, he'll be batting 7th. Batting 8th, Brandon Drury. Great to see him playing for the Reds at third base. And then Jake Fraley, all right, center field, batting 9th. All right, that will be India, Naquin, Stevenson, Votto, Aquino, Farmer, Moustakas, Drury, and Farley. And that is your starting lineup for today's ball game. All right, Reds, Indians coming up here in about 30 minutes, you guys. This wraps up our show on a Wednesday morning. Thank you guys for tuning in wherever you guys are at. We got a big announcement tomorrow. Trey will be with us. I'm pretty sure he would be with us. So stick tuned. Don't go nowhere. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys all have yourself a great day.